So they'll be calling you a radical. Sorry about that. I'm dealing with some really heartbreaking issues. And I mean, it's this. I mean, so horrible. But anyway, not just all this work I do all over. I do have a personal life and whatever. And you know, so sorry about that. But so scientists are mystified. They're baffled. They're stunned. They're curious. They're alarmed. They're bewildered. So real science doesn't do that. No real scientist would ever say mystified, baffled. So no real scientist would ever even use the word. Never. So, mystified, baffled, stunned, bewildered. Never. This is a new one. So, running, racing. These are the slowest racers in the history of mankind. So, listen. The fact, I remember I did so many videos last year of the fact that the grays, the humpbacks, and the orcas are, by the way, I'm standing right here in Bernard DeVoto's old driveway himself. Yeah, that Bernard DeVoto, who actually gave a shit on you. This is his house right here. Bernard DeVoto's driveway was right there. So, no scientist would ever say anything of the sort. If you know or you feel like when something happens that it's going to be a cause and effect, you hypothesize. Okay, even if you don't know. Once something starts to happen, which we started to see this and start to unfold in 2012, it took me a year, half, 2 years to convince anybody on earth that this was even one meltdown. And I knew it was at least 3, and now it's 4. China syndrome is very, very real. We know this because of Lake Barrett and their fishing expeditions. And get your mind out of that Japan runs this show. Yalta by the Sea. That's the only thing. When Barack Obama ate his fake sushi, just like he drank his fake water at freaking Flint, Michigan. I mean, he's just another cult member. We know factually that they've tried everything the United States government to cover this up. I mean, I know word for word what happened in the Situation Room. And before I go on, I want to say this too. I didn't even know this. That, I started the Million Mass March. Me and John Anthony Fairhurst invented it. Now, on the Fukushima disaster. Now, I had started my movement, the Post-Ignorance Project, clear back, the 2004, 5, 6, Iraq, Afghanistan, my work. He had his own movement, but mine started gaining a bunch of traction, the Post-Ignorance Project. Started gaining a lot of leverage. Fukushima, the death of Danielle Willard here in Utah, blah, blah, blah. John Anthony had his own movement, which he called the, different whatever, the Sons of Liberty, blah, 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 blah. He reached out to me in 2011-12 because I was organizing an event to start in Washington, D.C. I says, that's, because Occupy, I was heavily involved with that, but I didn't like the squatting aspect of it. I thought it was in the right plong place. I thought it needed to be in D.C. and it needed to be a march. And he reached out to me and he says, we should join movements. And because I got mine, you got yours. And I'm like, yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. Because he was leading up. Now, remember, John Anthony Fairhurst was about 6'3", 6'4", one blue eye, one green eye, part Cherokee, part African-American, part, I believe, Irish. The dude was a gem. I mean, him and his whole family, they're from Boston. I agreed. He come up with the idea to name it and do it on the Remember the 5th of November. I didn't want to do it on that day. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to name it. It was originally called the Million Masked Men March. I didn't like the name. I didn't even want to do the mask, but he wanted to tie it to remember the 5th of November, and he says it'll give us a lot of publicity and a lot of things. And I reluctantly agreed, but I'm glad I agreed. He was right. And then we changed the name to the Million Mass March, not Million Man Mass March. And it was all rooted. I gave the original speech. I gave the original march. It was gigantic. We were on the right side of all issues, but it really was rooted in the Fukushima, to cover up the Fukushima disaster. I just found out yesterday that he died. I hadn't known. He was young. He died 2.5 years ago, and I didn't even know. This shows you how busy I've been and how, well, he became secluded. He isolated in Colorado, and this is how they play against any activists. I mean, they drove him my God. I mean, so many of that crowd is already dead, but we got no publicity with it. But that movement really changed the world in the way policing's done. Now, granted, policing's not the greatest, but it's still a lot better. But, I'm all about Fukushima and the top of the heap. So this Mystified, Baffled's done. Because now listen, I have an incredible background as far as my path. I don't usually, formally. I have an incredible formal education from the #1 school in the country. Really incredible formal education. But I don't eat, sleep, drink it. I sleep with it. The fact that I get leukemia in 2011, given 2 months to live. I mean, I had open heart surgery twice, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that the wells now... So I'm walking the coast of California dying, 2014 or 15. And I remember 2015. And I get to Monterey. And I'm sleeping in a sleeping bag, blah, blah, blah. I go inside the aquarium, and there's an older man and woman waiting for me there. And they're like, the woman meets me. She says, we're volunteers here. And she says, Kevin, we've been watching your site. We have such a passion for the ocean. I'm the ex-department chair at, I believe, UCLA. My husband's the ex-department chair of marine biology at Stanford. We're married. We have such a passion for the ocean. We have a little rowboat, and we go into Monterey Bay, and we track the grays. The grays are what our big thing is. She says, they're birthing here in Monterey this year. It's exactly like you said. They're enumerated, they're starving to death, and I'm like, oh God, no. That's when I knew. They can't make it to Mexico. They're too weak. She says, both my daughter and son are marine biology department chairs at major universities in California. We're on non-speaking terms over Fukushima. She says, they do not care. They don't care about anything. They have no passion for the ocean. I says, yeah, they have a passion for money. That's what academia's turned into. Golden handcuffs. Look at me. It's glass houses on Balco. And she started to cry. I met him. I visited with him right over there. But I knew then that the well catastrophe was happening. I was in Pacific Beach, California, doing a lot of my work, and I'm standing there, and I had Wince's girlfriend, Lisa, with me. And she gets up, and I'm already up. I'm sitting on the point. She's like, what are you doing? I says, watching, I think the gray well, I think the graves in the well, this chain reaction is really going to be in earnest this year. And that was the year that we counted 312. I was on it. And that's back before they kettled me, screened me. Of course, COVID changed so much, but you know where I think COVID came from. But anyway, they didn't, they squashed my view count and hid me away. But they did it in earnest starting in early 2018. And you can draw a line when they did it. That's when they killed net neutrality and made it legal to do it. Before they were doing it illegally. I mean, the first Fukushima video I put up that morning when I put up, these are meltdowns, they're lying, they're stuck on the web. On March 12th, when I went to bed, that video had well north of 112,000 views. I got up the next day and it said that it had 11,000 views. I mean, to this day, I think it's got 18. I mean, that should have millions. And for a long time, I remember getting an email when YouTube used to call themselves the Great Equalizer. And I got an email from YouTube saying that my YouTube site was one of the top 10 YouTube sites on the planet on retention. Not top 10%, not 1%, one of the top 10. My retention viewership rate at one point back then was north of 90%. Well, this is before they changed the game. You know, I mean, here's Trump, who's been president twice, who says Fukushima on bootlicker Rogan, but he won't say why he's in office, so who really runs the White House? Not these four derelicts we have. Well, he's twice. Obama, I mean, this is the greatest crime in human history. So, for every action, there's a reaction. That's fundamental science. We know that. This is the greatest action in human history. So, what's happened, the denial, it's exposed the fraud of academia. These wells are camped in San Francisco Bay, and they were doing it last year. The sperm whales are completely moved off the Baja, because they're squid eaters. They've moved. Orcas are hunting. There are orcas up in rivers all the way. It's a starvation event. It's a chain reaction, just like I said. And the reason I said this heat source is going to be so radical, so foreign, you don't even know what it is. It's going to break the plankton. It's going to take out the phytoplankton, all the plankton. It's going to, look, this is a food chain. It's going to break the chain. My type will work alone. Everybody's denying me that, why I'm critical vision. I mean, I got such historic, incredible raw footage at the best low. I mean, I think about so hard work with no money. I was rich when I got cancer. I was uninsured. I've had open heart surgery twice. I have a pacemaker. My whole electrical system's fried out. My gallbladder freaking ruptured. I lost all my teeth. My esophagus is all fucked up from the heavy chemo. I was given 2 months to live with a really radical form of leukemia. It's funny because my marker was 44. I'm standing right here in front of Bernard DeVoto's house, and that famous book that he wrote where he had to translate freaking Mark Twain's rants at the end of his life, what does he call it? 44. I had a dream. Before I can get into that, but back to this catastrophe. Stunning mystery. Racing. These scientists they just proves what happened to America. The cult, which is the Bezos, the Gates, there's a reason Zorro Ranch was the Los Alamos. Free money, the nuclear energy, its supremacy. This was all a cover-up to protect the nuclear energy. I know for a fact it was. And they're afraid of them, and they all do it. So, this is the greatest ecological catastrophe in human history, bar none. Bar none. And everybody's in denial about it. This is the big starvation event. So finally some 75 biologists get together, came out last year, all these years after the fact, 12 years after the fact, and says, yeah, Kevin Marks was right. This was a giant starvation event that started in 2012. Well, but they jumped to their conclusion. So they have no hypothesis. They have no field work. You have to have field observation. They jumped on. So in conclusion, they say, global warming. So I've been going to so many of them because every one of these studies saying now, waste disease, global warming, global warming. I said, you telling me the global warming started in 2012? And I asked them, do you agree with me the greatest outlier that you've ever seen? This great outlier in this event was yeah, we agree, 2011, 2012. No doubt about that. I mean, we have the salmon data. I mean, the acute catastrophe. The fact that they call it the red carpet Chinook salmon flight, which is a big, big deal off the Copper River. The fact that they didn't even do it this year. They canceled it. The fact that they shut off all gill netting on the Copper River a couple days ago. I mean, on the verge of extinction, the Chinook. I mean, We have all the salmon data. We have all the salmon data, all of it from the Kenai clear down to the Jedi. Some have dams, some they'll admit finally now, yeah, your Blanche's right, they're dying at sea. In symphony, now the crab disappear. You know, the humpback, the gray, starvation, the fact that orcas are all over in domains they've never been in at certain times of year, hunting and eating and killing anything in packs, whether it be other whales, whatever. Again, the sperm whales who eat giant squid have moved because the giant squid's gone. And we know this is a acute catastrophe. Well, we know that the Pacific Ocean heated up several degrees like that. We know this is the heat dome over the western ice. I'm the guy that named it. The Great Western North America heat dome before it even happened. We know, you can look it up. Look it up, the Great Drought, they call it. And this is important because I'm here in Utah. Real important here in Utah. Because I says, the Great Salt Lake was at perfectly normal levels. My spiral jetty views in 2011, 2012. We flooded actually here in 2011. So the fact that we've had above precipitation for the last 4 years, way above. And the Great Salt Lake's just as low as it was 4 years ago, right there above. Because, look, Fukushima, the heat source is so radical it burned a hole in the ozone. And I hypothesized and predicted all that. The trees, remember I said it's going to get into the pine trees because, come on, we know, right, that's how evergreen stays green. It gets into the needles, you know, throw your tree on the fire. I said it's going to get into the trees. Happen. The starved to death shorebirds. I reported it in real time as it's happened. We know all this is in symphony. It's an ecology, stupid. And we know factually, unarguable, it happened for scientists to say, stunned, mystified, and you know, I can't even get into where I think the demi comes from, but whatever. This is the greatest ecological catastrophe in human history. 6 gray, so that probably means 26 or 36, just in the last couple days, few days. And here's how the New York Times, those derelicts, reports it. They report it like this: 9 times more gray whales in San Francisco Bay than last year. And they think that's good. Gray whales do not live in late May in San Francisco Bay. The only time they're ever in San Francisco Bay when they're passing through on their migration to the birthing grounds in Mexico or on their way home to the Bering Sea. They can't make it. They're staying there. Thus, the orcas they're hunting, them trying to eat. The orcas are starving to death. Everything's starving to death. I named it the Great Pacific Genocide. Scientists are mystified. It just proves the hijacking of academia. It proves the cover-up. Everybody's got their golden handcuffs, lock, stock, barrel. Don't say the F word. So we know this is the greatest outlier in fucking history. It's unarguable because we have all the salmon data, we have the tide pool data, we have the well data, we have all of the data. You can plug in all the regression models, and we know facts. It points to 2011 when this all started. It's unarguable. That's called an outlier versus outright liars. This cover-up's very real. I don't do conspiracy, I do science. All my historic field work, my field ops of the greatest PhD opportunity in human history, and I had to go rogue, break away from the university. My university is the University of General Electric. River State was completely built by the nuclear industry. Everything up there is named. I saw, I'm in the number one in the country via testing. Number one, not some opinion. I saw it happening. I saw the takeover taking. I saw the golden handcuffs being set on. I had to go rogue, and I did. Had to use whatever platform I had. This is the greatest ecological catastrophe in human history. And we know there was a trigger. We know that something caused it, and we know that happened in 2011. So there's only a few possible culprits. A giant meteor hit the Pacific Ocean. Oh, it could do it. Didn't happen. A volcano of the likes of Krakatoa formed inside the Pacific Ocean, erupted, and spewed so radical and so hot and so crazy that it coated a freaking over the United States, over the world, over the globe, and blocked out the sun for decades like it did in the, second, third century. That didn't happen. We know factually that has not happened. What is the other outcome? And to say this global warming, because global warming has been like this since we handed over the country to the oil industry and the cars when Rockefeller Oil took over the Saudi Peninsula and named it Saudi Arabia. It used to be called Arabia. We know automobiles, oh fuck yes. Oh boy, automobiles are up, what, 8,000% since not today. The population of the United States is up too. But we know it's been like this. We know 2011 well. We know that burned a hole into the ozone. We know the fire event. We know the Great Drought, which I named it. We know there's only one culprit possible. 4 full core meltdowns pushing the Pacific Ocean for nearly 1,500 days. See no nuclear energy, speak no nuclear energy, hear no nuclear energy. If the nuclear energy emperors, they have no fucking clothes. Raise PhD, what did I get for it? Kevin Welch, March 2012, 2011. March 12th. All new knowledge will be persecuted. The new Semmelweis. Stunning mystery. They're racing. Stand tuned.